In Chapter 2, we learned that a function takes an input, follows a rule, and gives an output. But that immediately creates a new question. Can every input go into a function? And once the function gives outputs, where can those outputs go? This is why we need domain and range. Domain and range answer two simple questions. Domain asks, which inputs are allowed? Range asks, which outputs can actually happen? So domain belongs to the input side. Range belongs to the output side. If you remember that, the idea becomes much easier. Let us begin with domain. The domain is the set of all allowed input values. Think of the input line as a gate. Some values are allowed to enter the function. Some values may be blocked. So when we ask for the domain, we are asking, what values of x are allowed to go into the function? Domain means allowed x values. Now think about range. After the function receives allowed inputs, it produces outputs, but it may not produce every possible output. Some output values can happen. Some output values may never be reached. So, when we ask for the range, we are asking, what y values can the function actually produce? Range means possible output values. A graph makes domain and range visible. To see the domain, look at the graph from left to right. Imagine the graph casting a shadow down onto the x-axis. That horizontal shadow is the domain. To see the range, look at the graph from bottom to top. Imagine the graph casting a shadow sideways onto the y-axis. That vertical shadow is the range. This is one of the most useful ways to read a function graph. Now let us see a restriction. Consider f of x equals square root of x. Some inputs are safe. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of 0 is 0. But square root of -1 is not allowed in the real number system. So negative inputs are blocked. The graph begins at x equals 0 and continues to the right. Therefore, the domain is x greater than or equal to 0. The outputs are also never negative. So the range is y greater than or equal to 0. Now consider another restriction. G of x equals 1 divided by x minus 2. Before doing anything, check the denominator. If x equals 2, the denominator becomes 0. Division by 0 is not allowed. So x equals 2 must be removed from the domain. The graph breaks near x equals 2. This is why the domain is all real numbers except 2. The range also avoids y equals 0, because the fraction never becomes 0. Domain and range also appear in real life. Imagine a ball thrown upward. The input can be time. The output can be height. Time begins when the ball is thrown and ends when it lands. That time interval is the domain. The height starts at the ground, rises to a maximum, and comes back down. Those possible heights form the range. There are three common mistakes. First, students mix up domain and range. Domain means x values. Range means y values. Second, students assume the range is all numbers, but range means only the outputs the function can actually produce. Third, students forget restrictions. Before graphing or calculating, always ask, which inputs are forbidden? Chapter 3 gives us two important ideas. Domain means allowed inputs. Range means possible outputs. Some functions allow every input. Other functions restrict inputs, like square roots and fractions. Graphs help us see both domain and range. But now that we know where a function can live, the next question is, how does the graph move? How does it shift, stretch, flip, or change shape? That is the next chapter, Graphs and Transformations.